Book 9, Chapter 6. The Chosen Few's new mission, counter-infiltration. The Architect's chilling counterattack, aimed at unraveling the HGA's social cohesion, demanded a response unlike any conventional war. On Heaven's Gate, Maeve O'Connell briefed the Chosen Few. The Architects are seeding discord through controlled entropic signatures, she explained, her voice grave. These are not just data streams. They are anti-patterns designed to amplify suspicion, induce paranoia, and cultivate apathy. They're broadcasting from a central node within the Mantle, a purely informational construct. You are the only ones who can go in. Their vessel, the Thought Weaver, was a new class of Devil Fleet scout, retrofitted not for physical stealth, but for psychological warfare environments. Its hull was lined with empathic dampeners, and its systems integrated with counter-entropic thought filters. Entering Mantle's psychological domain, Lyra Chen commanded, her voice steady. The external view screen showed shimmering void, but the internal readouts pulsed with a cacophony of discordant mental energy. Waves of irrational fear, suspicion, and despair washed over the bridge crew, threatening to fragment their focus. "They're trying to break us from within," Lena Sharma grunted, her face etched with profound strain. She became a living shield, channeling her null energy pulse, not for physical healing, but for mental fortification. Her empathy pushed outward, a constant soothing frequency, trying to create pockets of mental clarity for the crew, battling the Architect's insidious psychological entropic signatures. Marko Petrova, strapped into a specialized console, his technopathic senses plunged into the Thought Weaver's systems, was fighting a mental war. He saw the Architect's network, a vast, cold, logical web of entropic emitters. He filtered the overwhelming data, trying to pinpoint the specific signature of the psychological node. "It's an informational virus," he rasped, sweat beading on his brow. "Designed to unravel thought, not just data. Its source is a deep philosophical core, their belief in order made manifest." Kaelen Rourke, his face contorted, cried out. His precognition, usually a guide, was now overwhelmed by the Architect's future projections for the galaxy, a sterile, uniform order devoid of complex emotion. He saw the targeted fault lines within the HGA's human and alien societies, the specific prejudices being amplified, the fears being cultivated. "Sector Tau 4, he gasped, fighting through the mental noise. "That's their primary broadcast node. It's transmitting apathy waves, targeting newly integrated Thakar communities." His insight was excruciating, forcing him to witness the psychological battlefield. Finn, his resonance matrix flaring around the Thought Weaver, was a bastion of mental clarity. He projected intricate, chaotic counterpatterns, physical disruptions in the entropic fields that momentarily scrambled the Architect's psychological broadcast. He moved through the chaotic energy, creating pockets of order for his team, literally pushing back against the emotional pressure that threatened to crush them. They found the node, not a physical structure, but a nexus of entropic emitters woven into a star's corona, broadcasting psychological antipatterns across vast swathes of space. Lyra guided the Thought Weaver into optimal position, pushing the ship to its limits. "Deploying counter-signature," Marko yelled, activating a prototype counter-entropic signature designed by Thorn. He sent a wave of carefully tailored informational dissonance back into the Architect's node, a psychological virus designed to unravel their broadcast, to introduce illogical chaos into their ordered transmissions. The Architects reacted instantly, a terrifyingly precise mental probe, raw and invasive, slammed into the Chosen Few's minds. It was designed to quarantine their consciousness, to trap them within their own thoughts, to reduce their complex minds to inert simplicity. Kaelen screamed. Lena pushed her energy to its absolute limit. Finn's resonance matrix shimmered violently, barely holding. "Emergency jump!" Lyra roared, pushing the Thoughtweaver's engines to the brink. They made the jump, battered but triumphant. The psychological node's broadcast faltered, its insidious influence momentarily broken. The mission was a harrowing success. The architects knew they had been countered, their method exposed. But the chosen few returned, deeply scarred by the battle within minds, forever changed by the profound, terrifying intimacy of fighting a foe that sought to unmake the very essence of thought and emotion. Book 9, Chapter 7, The Architect's Strategic Evolution, Adapting to Human Resilience. On Lumina Prime, the great crystalline spires resonated with a cold, analytical re-evaluation. The Architects Collective processed the data from Protocol, Collective Dissonance's Failure, Chapter 210, and the Human Galactic Authority's subsequent countermeasures. Humanity's illogical resilience was an unexpected variable, a persistent counterpattern within what should have been predictable chaos. Observer Prime's shifting form resolved the core problem. The HGA entities exhibit an unexpected capacity for internal cohesion re-establishment. Their empathy and truth-seeking behaviors, while fundamentally inefficient, function as resilient, if chaotic, counter-programming to entropic influence. Protocol, collective dissonance achieved limited, temporary success. Our current methodology is suboptimal. Analyst Gamma projected the data from the chosen few's counter-infiltration mission. Marko Petrova's precise disruption of their psychological node, Kaelen Rourke's bewildering foresight, Lena Sharma's empathic shields, and Finn's localized mental clarity zones. Their counter-patterns are adaptive, Analyst Gamma resonated. Their gifts allow for dynamic, unpredictable defense against entropic influence. The collective accepted the data without emotion, only logical imperative. Their strategy needed to evolve. A multi-layered approach was required, one that integrated subtle physical unmaking with psychological pressure, simultaneously targeting infrastructure and coherence. Strategist Delta proposed Protocol, Unified Dissolution. This next phase would directly combine elements of the Architect's Mantle's physical deployment with refined psychological vectors. Their targets would be critical HGA assets, not just uninhabited sectors, but densely populated, functioning worlds. The Architects selected their first target, a thriving, multi-species research hub, Nexus Prime, a beacon of the Golden Age's collaborative spirit. It was rich in complex informational patterns, intricate technological systems, and diverse emotional spectra, a perfect testbed for their evolved methodology. Far from Lumina Prime, an expanded network of Architect vessels moved with chilling precision. Their deployment of the Mantle would be multifaceted. Physical unraveling. Subtle entropic fields would target the complex infrastructure of Nexus Prime, its power grids, atmospheric processors, and advanced AI systems. Not a sudden explosion, but a gradual, systemic failure, designed to induce fear and distrust as the environment visibly and inexplicably degraded. Integrated psychological warfare. Simultaneously, new, refined entropic signatures would emanate directly from the failing infrastructure itself. The lights flickering would induce paranoia. Communication static would carry whispers of xenophobia. Environmental control systems malfunctioning would amplify feelings of helplessness and isolation. The environment itself would become a weapon, turning the inhabitants' own fear and confusion against them. Deep infiltration, new element. Tiny, almost undetectable entropic probes, infused with the refined anti-logic from the chosen few's counterattack, were physically deployed. These would infiltrate Nexus Prime's core systems, designed to subtly corrupt data, introduce cascading logical flaws, and make repairs impossible. Their purpose? To demonstrate the HGA's inability to control its own ordered systems. Observer Prime concluded the strategic review. Protocol: unified dissolution will initiate in 0.07 galactic cycles. Data acquisition on HGA response optimal. This integrated methodology will quantify their resilience to multi-layered entropic influence. Order will be established. The architects launched their new, sophisticated assault. No blaring warnings, no overt attacks. Just the insidious, silent advance of a refined obliteration. The golden age of humanity, already fragile, was about to face a test far more insidious than any it had yet known. The architects were not merely adapting, they were evolving their very definition of war, aiming to dissolve their enemy from within, both physically and mentally. Book 9, Chapter 8, The Chosen Few's Urgent Deployment, Countering Unified Dissolution. Nexus Prime, jewel of the Golden Age and a symbol of multi-species collaboration, was dying, not with fire or explosion, but with a horrifying, silent dissolution. Its vast biodomes flickered, their atmospheric processes choking on corrupted data. Lights dimmed, then brightened erratically, inducing paranoia. On the public comms, voices shifted from frantic to accusatory, then devolved into xenophobic whispers, a terrifying echo of the architect's integrated attack. Through this encroaching chaos plunged the Thoughtweaver, carrying the chosen few, humanity's last best hope against protocol unified dissolution. The air on the bridge was thick with the scent of ozone and burgeoning despair. Physical integrity of Sector Gamma 7 failing, Lyra Chen commanded, her voice cutting through the rising alarms. Automated repairs attempting to compensate, but their logic is unraveling. The station is eating itself. She steered the vessel through corridors where bulkheads subtly rippled, their molecular structure losing coherence. The moment they set foot on Nexus Prime, the chosen few were assaulted. Physically, the station groaned around them, systems malfunctioning, minor structural collapses. Psychologically, the air was a thick, cloying fog of palpable fear, suspicion, and mounting xenophobia, emanating directly from the affected populations. "The paranoia is overwhelming," Lena Sharma cried, pressing her hands to her temples. Her empathic abilities were stretched to their absolute limit. She radiated null energy pulses, creating a protective bubble of mental coherence around the team, pushing back against the architect's designed discord. But outside their immediate vicinity, she felt the rampant, illogical fear, turning neighbors against each other. She was fighting a plague of the mind, and it was draining her life force. "They've integrated the entropic probes into the power grid," Marko Petrova gasped, his technopathic senses overwhelmed by the sheer volume of corruption. He saw the network of tiny, invisible architect emitters woven into the station's very infrastructure, broadcasting both physical decay and psychological poison. He was battling on every level, trying to isolate the source, his mind a precarious bridge over a chasm of chaos. "The psychological vectors are precise," Kaelen Rourke screamed, clutching his head, his body racked with tremors. His precognition was a torrent of fractured realities, showing the station's inhabitants succumbing to their deepest fears, fragmenting into isolated pockets of irrationality. He saw the specific frequencies of architect influence, the pathways of mental unraveling. "Power conduit Delta 3, levels 5 through 9. That's the nexus of their broadcast. It's accelerating the societal decay." Finn, a living bastion against disorder, roared. His resonance matrix flared, expanding beyond his immediate body, creating a pulsating shield of pure, active counter-patterning. He pushed back against the entropic pressure, not just protecting against physical degradation, but literally trying to re-establish logical and emotional order in localized zones. Lights flickered back on briefly. A wave of sanity rippled through a small crowd before succumbing again. He was fighting the concept of madness made manifest, and it was exhausting him. Lyra navigated them through the spiraling chaos, following Kaelen's agonizing insights and Marko's strained data. They reached the core power conduit. "Entropy disruptor ready!" Marko yelled, his hands hovering over the portable device, shimmering with contained paradox. "Targeting architect probe nexus." "Fire!" Lyra commanded. A silent wave of subversion resonance erupted. The power conduit, thick with architect's entropic probes, shuddered. The logical corruption they broadcast suffered a momentary, catastrophic overload. The psychological dissonance faltered. Lights on Nexus Prime briefly flickered to full, normal power. The collective anxiety momentarily broke, replaced by a wave of stunned, disbelieving clarity. The architects responded instantly. The entire station writhed with targeted entropic energy, aimed directly at the chosen few. A terrifyingly refined entropic beam, not just for physical unraveling, but for cognitive dissolution, lanced towards them. "Emergency jump!" Lyra roared, pushing the Thoughtweaver's engines to their limit. Finn's resonance matrix flared with a last, desperate burst of power, deflecting the primary beam. They made the jump, the station's chaos already reasserting itself. The Thoughtweaver limped back to HGA space, battered but triumphant. Nexus Prime was not fully saved. The Architect's attack would continue. But for a precious, critical window, they had disrupted the protocol, unified dissolution. The chosen few returned, physically and mentally drained, but with vital intelligence on the Architect's integrated warfare. They now truly understood. This was a war for every level of existence, from the atoms of a starship to the very sanity of a galactic population. Book 9, Chapter 9, The Galaxy's Unraveling, Nexus Prime's Desperate Struggle. The fragile peace bought by the chosen few's daring strike lasted mere hours. Nexus Prime, once a shining beacon of multi-species collaboration, quickly resumed its terrifying descent into chaos. The Architect's protocol, unified dissolution, temporarily disrupted, roared back with renewed, insidious force. Lights on the orbital hub flickered with maddening irregularity, casting dancing shadows over faces contorted by fear. Automated systems designed for the intricate dance of a thriving city failed entirely, then resurrected with warped logic, producing inert paste from food synthesizers or spewing corrosive gases from atmospheric purifiers. Microcracks spiderwebbed across transparent bulkheads, a horrifying promise of imminent, silent collapse. The populace, a vibrant mix of human, Xylos, and Thakar, descended into a nightmare. Initial shock had given way to a desperate scramble for survival, swiftly followed by a pervasive, suffocating apathy. Then, with chilling effectiveness, the Architect's psychological warfare deepened. The subtle entropic signatures now amplified pre-existing prejudices. Human families huddled together, eyes wary of alien neighbors. Xylos technicians accused draconian specialists of sabotage, despite decades of cooperation. The fear was irrational, the distrust absolute. Local HGA officials and emergency crews were utterly overwhelmed. They fought a losing battle, attempting to reroute power, seal breaches, and maintain order. Every repair they made, every line of code they rewrote, was subtly unraveled by unseen architect probes, their work degrading into uselessness. This wasn't a military siege. It was systemic, deliberate disintegration. From the bridge of the Valiant II, Admiral Eva Rostova watched the nightmare unfold. Her guardianship division, accustomed to maintaining order in a time of peace, was now tasked with orchestrating a desperate mass evacuation. Spaceports became choked with terrified refugees, their personal vessels straining at capacity. The Valiant 2 itself functioned as a triage center, its medical bays overflowing with those suffering not from physical wounds, but from profound psychological unraveling. Minds consumed by paranoia, hearts choked by apathy. Rostova personally oversaw the boarding of a transport, a draconian child clutching its parent's leg, eyes wide with terror. She met the desperate gaze of a human liaison officer. "Admiral," he choked, "we can't keep order. They're turning on each other. The architects. They're winning without firing a shot." Rostova felt the helplessness, the bitter reality that her powerful fleet was utterly inadequate against this enemy. Lena Sharma, deployed to Nexus Prime months ago for integration efforts, now battled a scale of psychological devastation that eclipsed anything she had ever known. Her empathy was a raw, exposed nerve, overwhelmed by the galaxy-wide tidal wave of fear, confusion, and suspicion. She moved through desperate crowds, her hands radiating warmth, her null energy pulse attempting to create psychic anchors to rebuild emotional coherence. But it was like trying to hold back a tsunami with her bare hands. She saw hope drain from eyes, replaced by vacant apathy or simmering hatred. The architect's entropic manipulation of consciousness was too vast, too pervasive, too insidious. She could only offer brief, fleeting moments of clarity before the darkness returned. On Lumina Prime, Observer Prime analyzed the influx of data from Nexus Prime with cold satisfaction. Protocol, unified dissolution, continues with optimal efficiency. Humanoid resilience to induced psychological fragmentation remains higher than predicted, but the rate of societal breakdown is consistent with planned parameters. Data on emotional vulnerabilities acquired for further refinement. Nexus Prime was not under attack by fleets. It was under siege by a philosophy. Its golden age was not merely threatened, it was actively bleeding, dissolving into chaos and fear, a horrifying monument to the architect's chilling pursuit of order. The widespread suffering on display screamed an undeniable truth to the inner quintet. Then in Chapter 206, Planning Strategy. Surgical strikes and temporary disruptions were not enough. A long-term fundamental solution was desperately needed, or the golden age would be swallowed by the architect's silent, methodical unmaking. Book 9, Chapter 10, The Architect's Strategic Evolution, Refined Dominance. On Lumina Prime, the great crystalline spires resonated with cold, unflinching logic. The architect's collective processed the comprehensive data streams from Nexus Prime. The analysis was meticulous. The initial effectiveness of protocol, unified dissolution, the human HGA's frantic yet orderly attempts at damage control, and the surprising, if temporary, counter-patterns deployed by the chosen few. Observer Prime's shifting form resolved the essence of their findings. The HGA entities, particularly their gifted anomalies, demonstrate illogical resilience. Their empathy allows for inefficient re-establishment of emotional cohesion. Their technopathy creates unpredictable counterpatterns to our direct entropic probes. Their precognition introduces tactical variables. Analyst Gamma projected the temporal data, showing the brief period where the chosen few had disrupted the Mantle's influence. Their counterpatterns, while temporary, are a new variable. Our previous entropic modulation was insufficient against their unique capabilities. The collective accepted these variables without emotion, only with the logical imperative to refine. Their initial deployment of unified dissolution had been a success, yielding critical data on human resilience. Now, protocol, unified dissolution, would evolve. Strategist Delta proposed the next phase, a more pervasive, faster, and harder to detect application of controlled entropy, integrated with deeper infiltration. Their targets would transcend mere resource hubs. They would strike at the very pillars of the HGA's order, pervasive unraveling. The entropic signatures would operate at infinitesimally lower frequencies, making detection by standard HGA long-range sensors almost impossible. The physical degradation of infrastructure would be slower at first, more insidious, designed to induce prolonged despair rather than immediate panic. Accelerated decay. Once fully initiated, the rate of unmaking would accelerate exponentially, overwhelming repair efforts far more swiftly than on Nexus Prime. Targeted infiltration. New entropic probes, miniaturized and infused with a logic that mimicked HGA security protocols, would be deployed for deep system infiltration. They would actively seek out critical decision-making nodes, compromise Archangel's distributed network, and target individual HGA leaders with subtle, personalized entropic disruption. This would not destroy, but subtly unravel their cognitive functions, inducing paranoia, indecision, or philosophical apathy. Simultaneous strikes. Instead of one target like Nexus Prime, refined protocol, unified dissolution would be deployed simultaneously across multiple high-value HGA worlds. Perhaps a major scientific research station, a key diplomatic hub, and a central HGA administrative world. This would overwhelm their response capacity. Observer Prime concluded the strategic review. The HGA entities represent a unique challenge of advanced disorder. Their victory over the unmade entropy wave was an anomaly. Their subsequent resilience is a data point. Protocol Unified Dissolution 2.0 will quantify the limits of their illogical cohesion. Order will be imposed. The architects launched their refined, multi-pronged attack. No blaring warnings, no overt fleets. Just the insidious, silent advance of a meticulously planned obliteration. The Golden Age, already cracking under strain, was about to face a systematic, invisible siege, meticulously designed to dismantle humanity's order, piece by chilling piece.